we're going to talk a little bit about biases because they tend to guide our ethical decision making whether we're aware of them or not. So at least we can be aware of them and kind of recognize when those might be guiding our thoughts, our decisions in life. So I found a really helpful website, Very Well Mind. Seems like a common one whenever I'm Googling things. It often comes up with respect especially to psychological issues. And since this is a class in the psychology department, it certainly makes sense to bring in some psychology to our ethics discussion and help guide what we understand about our biases. So biases can be useful. They come up when we have limited time and attention to try to focus on a particular decision. And these biases kind of help us take mental shortcuts. Just, okay, zip, this is how I feel about this. I'm done. I'm not even going to have to think about it. And that's helpful to have. And in so many day-to-day decisions, that's reasonable. We can't sit down and think for an hour about everything we have to do in life. But knowing some of these biases might help you recognize when you have to examine those biases and maybe realize they're leading you to make decisions that might be suboptimal in some way. This Very Well Mind website, I've got had the link on the previous slide. If you want to examine all 10, you can follow that link. I've pulled out the 4 that kind of lead to the degree of ethical decision making that we're talking about here in this class with respect to scientific issues. There's other biases that relate to interpersonal relationships, how you relate to others, what you assume about others, or about yourself with respect to others. So they're all good. I'm pulling out these 4 because they kind of relate to a lot of what we're going to talk about here. So the very first bias is the confirmation bias. Hopefully you've heard these in other psychology classes, so it's maybe this idea is already something you've heard of and have some background for. But in case you don't, the gist of this is you are likely to only consume information that confirms a bias you already have. And that's just typical of human nature. But it's important to be aware of that. Especially we talked about the polarized political climate we're in, and this is one that is almost become common knowledge because we're recognizing that people often pick the news outlet that helps them with their confirmation bias, keeps things all in check, just reassures us that our opinion is exactly what we think it should be. So recognize that where you're getting your information, the degree to which it is maybe purely factual based in helping you make your best decisions. With respect to media, especially political news media, if you Google it, you will find out there a rating of the degree to which news media outlets are far left-leaning or far right-leaning, and also the degree to which they're fact-based, with kind of the middle ground being right in the middle, trying to be very unbiased, and also trying to really stick to the facts as much as possible. So these are very good. It's a great graphic if you can find it. It's assembled with input from far right and far left-leaning people and people in the middle, and they all agree that this is kind of the spectrum of the news where you're gathering your news. So that's important in the political spectrum, but also to recognize that you have a built-in tendency to find those new news outlets that confirm whatever you already want to believe. Just be sure you don't let your sources of information close your mind completely or poison your mind. And this website talks about the danger is when it leads you to, it's now a verb, to other people. It's the process of othering people, putting them outside a group, particularly outside of your realm of consideration. This can be very harmful. It can happen automatically and subconsciously, and you might not realize it. So recognizing that you probably are going to find news outlets or information outlets that confirm your biases Try to rise above the fray and not let it completely close your mind or poison your humanity. That's all I'll say. I'm going to pick up the next bias in the next video.